The My Little Pony Drawing School 281st weekly live critique stream.
Woo!
Yay! All of the words. We are back again. Zum is still on his zombie trip extravaganza, traveling the world or shambling across the world, looking for hugs. So today it's just me, the trash panda, that they let in, I suppose, along with the wonderful lion mum that keeps us all in
Boy,
check as best
I
she can.
try. I'm more of a child sometimes, but
And we have the wonderful Pixie Up,
Hello.
who is teaching us all messy sketches.
Yep. Done. That's my job. It's the
today-
281th. stream.
Yeah, it
I'm
is
happy.
indeed the 281st live stream. Everyone.
do that. Could have sworn I changed it to TH or TS.
So I'm going to turn the screen on now. There it is. The one that you definitely didn't see earlier when I totally didn't forget to switch back to the starting Zoom screen. If only OBS would let you edit scenes without actually being in them. It's because we were running a little bit behind and we didn't have an Aggie set up. Apologies. But we're here. I don't know why I'm saying this though. The YouTube people in the future, high future people, will have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Boom, a raccoon exists now. Okay. So, we are recording, we are streaming, we are good to go. Do we have any of these pictures who are by people in the stream with us today?
I don't believe so. I think we can just start with the normal flow. I don't think Chofi's here, so maybe it'll be better for us to.
We could shake it up and go like like Asian reading direction, but let's just do it normal so we don't confuse everyone. Oh, you can right click and drag around the Aggie. Oh no, it's just it does it with any button. Okay, cool. Never mind. I'm sorry. So we got this cute little. Let's move this in the middle. This cute little human derpy. I think that's what it is.
Hey,
Very
Derpy.
cute.
Cootie
It's a
patootie.
very nice. We love seeing traditional art. It's very good.
So
yeah.
this cute derpy is by Lul's Moon. Not finished yet. Trying to color outlines. What do you think?
It is very adorable. I love the pose. I love the expression. I think the first.
You've done a drawing.
Hmm?
You've done a drawing. You've done good.
Yeah, you have given us a gift. Thank you. I think the first thing I noticed. Oh no, I'm going over this part of the fringe. It's fine. Was this part? That's a horrible color. This part here. Is I got this like weird tangent because the mane is very close to the eye colors that you've used. What my brain was seeing was this. It was seeing these shapes here in the eye, and of course this shape. So this one I can easily understand being the gap of eye white, and then this part is the pupil. But in this one, my brain was seeing these gaps cut off because the mane here, or the hair I suppose, is cutting in and creating a tangent with the pupil. So tangents are something you want to avoid. They're basically something that causes visual confusion in a picture, where two things line up or meet or connect in some way that you don't want them to because it harms the readability. So that's what was happening here a little bit, at least at first glance, because the mane was sort of splitting off the eye. I kind of just thought like the whole thing was the eye, and then there was this like highlight here and then another one down there or something. I don't know. It's just a little something to be wary of.
Please ignore how I draw hands. My hands are bad. So look to someone else with better hands. Yep, exactly. But I'm pretty much like the most. Oh my god, I suck at wrist as well. The main things that I'm doing are just like just thickening up the forearms a bit. Just they don't need to be like amazingly like crazy, but just a little bit, just to give them some like actual heft.
Yeah. Wingies.
That was a little bit mental.
I drew the
Hell yeah, wingies.
Like I do kind of like the like tiny flippy little wings on her. Although I feel like if the wings were meant to be any kind of practical thing, they need to be a little bigger. I mean, if they were really practical, they'd be much bigger than how I drew them. But I was just like looking at trying to give them some more sort of like definition in the style that they have in the show. What you've done is closer to actual bird wings than I am capable of drawing. So ignore that. I understand that is a stylistic choice, and that's absolutely fine. I was just sort of giving them more bend because bird wings are fixed here. You've got this joint, and then it goes up here to the end, and you've got this like claw and fingers. It's a hand, basically. So I mean, it's more obvious in like bat wings and stuff, but having this bone joint is the important thing, and then just having the feather sort of generally coming out in this direction-ish is what you want to typically do with wings. So having that bend in there, like this, she's sort of passive. She's not like trying. I mean, maybe she just want to be spreading them for some reason, but it's up to you how you want to pose them. Just typically, this is what I would do if I was drawing this picture, just given the space available, and you know, I'd use up a little bit more of this area by just bringing out the wing a little bit. But that's just my choices. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
With the pose, what I've done here is sort of just it tends to be good to sort of have one shoulder like pretty visible and the other shoulder like more hidden in this kind of like a pose. And as well, that one's a little bit strange. As well, it's good to when you're looking at let me choose a color like this here. It's good to have like one side that's like fairly straight and the other side kinked in, just because it makes the pose feel a little bit more interesting. It's this kind of shape where it's basically like, yeah, you've got like one side that is like, you know, pinched, and the other side that is like stretched almost, and it's like it's a pose that comes up in human. It's a shape that comes up in like human poses a lot. So that's what I've done for the most of the pose. You can see that I've made the tie just, you know, bend around a little bit more just for like some added interest.
More dynamic.
Yeah, and also just made this front of the shirt sort of come off a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you know, in general, looks like a good little human picture. I like it.
I'd maybe round out the bit of the head here, or you know, the hairline, which the head itself is sort of like here-ish. If we're looking at things, this is like the top of the head. I don't know why I've done this. Why I've used these colors specifically when I was drawing the hair in blue. Let's make this green. And then I'll make the hairline blue, just to maintain consistency here, so I'm not confusing you. Yeah. Oops. What has happened to my? Okay. Anyway. Just because I feel like it looks nicer to have a sort of like rounder, sort of a visage, a little bit. Keeping in mind like where the head is. You don't have to do it this way, of course, but you know, I like making the hair sort of like thicker. You can do little sort of like messy bits, whatever you want to do with her. But having trying to sort of keep that like silhouette of the hair up is good. If you don't want to do it like that, that's fine. I definitely just think this part here would be good to sort of have this like roundness, just to shape out the head a bit, rather than it being too. You don't want it to be too lemon shaped, unless you're literally drawing like a lemon grab relative or something.
Alrighty, I guess we could move on then, shall we?
Let's do it. Thank you for drawing. My
very...
plushie has been watching. She's standing on top of all my pillows like the queen of the mountain and watching the stream. So she approves of the Derpy drawing, I'm sure.
I was muted. Good drawing. We could always use more human stuff.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Let's move on.
This is pretty cool. This is a cool poster.
Before I ask, I'm having a bad thought. We're definitely recording, right? Like
yeah, no, don't worry. I've checked like 3 times already.
So I just want to let you
But
know,
thank you
Vex
for that.
and both myself are having this. The stream's very behind this week.
Oh,
Just to
is
give
it?
a heads up. Yeah.
Oh, I will
No,
check on
no
my
one's in
end,
the
but
chat, so we're good.
Yeah.
But just giving everyone's a heads up.
Yeah.
I will check for myself because I think last time it was like pretty much on point for me, but really far behind for Pixie. So I typed a URL. What is happening? Yeah.
While you're checking, this next one is by the Lone Rider Zero. I finished this a few days ago, and it's the cover art for my story. I'm a film student, not an artist, so I was wondering how to capture the effects of lightning. I don't believe I did a great job with it. And that's all they said. I say, Poppycock, this is great. This is compositionally so fun. And I read that as lightning. There's probably different ways to go about it, but this does fit your style. It feels more cartoony, like the horses are cartoony and the character drawn there is cartoony. But I wouldn't say you did terrible at it.
No, that's not good mentality. I'm very interested by this.
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to lie to us. This looks great. It looks perfect.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So, I have a question. The sort of gashes on the cheek. That's not a pen. Okay, there we go. I don't know if that's because to me how I'm reading it is like this whole thing is a poster, right? It's like a sheet of paper with this printed on it, and this makes me almost think that the poster itself has had like a gash taken out of it because it cuts over the background. Maybe that's not what you were intending. I see it sort of matches the stuff at the bottom here, so maybe it's just a negative space. But because this is ripped out of the face shape and cuts everything out, and because it's specifically shaped as like claw marks, it makes me think that it is like a rip out of the poster. Which I don't think that's actually what you intended, because I do recognize that it matches the gaps down here on the bottom. But the only thing it doesn't match in them is that it's on the inside, making it look like some creature has clawed across the poster. Which, the confusing part for me then is the fact that the backing is the exact same color as the poster itself. It looks like this whole thing is actually like a giant sticker on the background, and that's what's been like ripped out. If that's what you're intending, then that's absolutely fine. If this is like a giant sticker and you know it's sort of cut off on the bottom and then someone's ripped it, then that's fine. I don't know if this is like mud on the background or a wall or something that we're seeing, or if it's just like an abstract thing, and what the important part is this, and it's just like a silhouette that you've made and the background is just an abstract background, then that's also fine. I don't really know exactly what's going on. If it was that like this was meant to be the whole thing as a poster, and this is actually cut out of it, then you'd want to have like a different color in the background, if that makes sense, to show that it's been cut out of the poster of the entire thing. There needs to be some like negative space, or even transparency, you know, and it's just the background of whatever chat window the thing is on.
I think
you could definitely have some cool ripped effects.
I think like if you want to have the scar here, because like I'm reading this as like an important marking on this pony, this like scar right across their cheek. To have it incorporate I would have it incorporate either with the image of the pony itself, the silhouette here. So having those scars be red or something that would be attached to the pony. But if you want them to cut through the pony to your background, what I would do is I would treat this entire silhouette as like a paper cut. So, or you know, the silhouette art, the paper cut silhouette art you see in the frames that are like 3D, but they're stacked 2D sheets. So this whole silhouette could have, just like you have on your title down here, this little shadow, have that shadow kind of pop out to one side of this guy. As well, you'll have little shadows in here to kind of show that like it cut through this silhouette you had to the background of the picture, and that way it makes sense that it's cutting through the image as a whole. And that could just have a little extra pop to the entirety of your poster to make it feel like it's like a layered effect.
Yeah. I agree. That would be a very good like design choice. If this was like a graphic design type thing to make it more clear.
Yeah.
You want the readability. That's today's theme.
It would be much easier. Yeah, and that way you get like the whole thing feels like it pop. I don't know. I don't have the right tools at the moment, but the whole thing will then feel like it pops away from your background.
I
Yeah.
don't really have much to
Yeah,
say
I was-
about
I
the
was-
background in here. I think it's.
I was messing about a little bit with chucking this over the top of those scars or something like that. If you wanted to, you could do something like that and then change the actual scars to like a different color, like the reddish sort of thing that we mentioned earlier, or something like that. Or
Maybe it's like we're seeing like clouds and stuff right in the background. Maybe the scars are like cut out of the clouds. I don't know. Brainstorming.
So what? Well, brainstorm. That's literally the picture.
That is what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was distracted for a second because I was also like, if like energy ripples could be coming off of this, and then you just have some like it's like swirling around, and you have just like some big ones, and then it's like, I don't know. That, I think probably a bit too messy for it, but it's an idea.
So going back to the comment, they said they had trouble with the lightning itself. They feel like they didn't execute it that well. I feel like you could either the two ideas I had is actually have the lightning go in a direction, have it come down, have it pierce the cityscape here, have it make contact with the ground you've created in this silhouette, or have the clouds in here. Usually lightning dances around, like if it's just like the lightning that stays up in the clouds, it kind of like arcs between the clouds, and there's not really any kind of cloudiness up there. It's very like soft, and usually only the bits of lightning seem like they're more erased than there's actually clouds there. So if you had some really nice like defined solid clouds for the lightning to jump between, that could be really helpful. Like if I could go over to the side. Need a different brush. And you got the beam. Whee! There's our beam coming. Like have the clouds help the lightning disappear a bit more. Or lightning like branches out and trees out and all that fun stuff. But yeah, just a thought.
So I've been messing about with this sort of area a bit, and let me just quickly go over. So in this area, I just made the this like top area dip down a little bit to add some like more interesting shapes. So here's the original. It's like fairly across, whereas that is like especially it dips down like here a little bit more, and then dips up a little bit here just to create some like more interesting shapes. And you can see this like darker grey shape that basically like separates this section in particular away from like this important section, just so that you're looking and staring at it a little bit less. I did a little bit of just like changing the colors of the clouds up a little bit more to create some like larger shapes. So let me erase all that. That looks fine, but there aren't quite as many larger blocks of color that do create like this sort of interesting thing. And when you're doing like landscape environmenty sort of stuff, it's generally a good sort of thing to stick to, that like as you go further into the background, you tend to get a bit lighter and a bit less saturated and all that sort of stuff. So in this area, the area that's like furthest away, that's where the clouds and all that sort of stuff are kind of the lightest. And as they get like closer and to the sides and all that sort of stuff, you get these like little hints of green or like the blues and all that sort of stuff kind of popping in. Just helps it look a little bit more natural. With the grass, I haven't done too much. I've just sort of added in some like different shades. So here's the original, and it looks, it looks good. But adding in like little hints of green and all that sort of stuff is useful. So let me quickly just do that again. So what I do is I have my like original color. I grab that, and then I just change it a little bit more towards green. Maybe change the brightness and color just a tiny bit, and then put it down. Fairly simple, but like doing that in a few different places around the picture where you grab it, and then maybe shift it a little bit more blue and chuck it in there. Maybe even a little bit more blue as you go out to the side and all that sort of stuff. The more that you sort of create different shades of green on this grass, the more natural that it'll kind of look. Because it won't just be like one single blob of all the same green color and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just some little tips. But yeah, no, it looks good. Great layout. When I like first looked at it, it was like really, it looks pretty striking. It's good.
Hell yeah.
Shall we move on?
Let's do it. Good stuff. Can't wait to see more.
Julio, moving on just a second. Up here to this drawing. Ocean Mid Breeze. What does that say?
1 second, let me pull it up. Let's see. This is by user Dora Explora. Oceana Breeze, no questions.
We like having
questions. I would say, yeah. First critique is ask us questions. Why'd you post on our subreddit? What kind of critique did you want? How may we help you today? We don't know, then it's hard to help. It's hard to give.
What are you looking to get out of your art? Why are you drawing? What are you looking for? If you don't ask, then we have to guess.
Yeah.
It looks good. Cute picture.
It is definitely helpful because it gets you thinking about like, what you want. It's like if you have a picture and say, oh, I'm struggling with the ears, or I just can't get this part right, and then going to the ears and being like, hey, can you help me with this thing? I'm struggling with it. Any input? Then we can be like, sure, maybe do it this way, and then that can help. Rather than just like shoving it out our faces and hoping that we'll just go nuts with it. It helps you to think about it. It helps us to know how we can help you best, like Ali said. It's person. So yeah. Anyway, it's cute. Let's move on and critique.
Yeah, I'm just doing stuff. A lot of just what I'm doing here within the red is just refining shapes and all that sort of stuff. Oh, you're in the chat. Awesome. Is it? Maybe? Lone Rider. Oh, that was the last one.
That was the last one, yeah.
Stream hasn't caught up yet. Yeah, so a lot of this, in terms of the sort of, making the main shape come out a little bit, doing this muzzle and all that sort of stuff, a lot of it's just like, refining shapes and all that kind of thing. So don't stress too much about like copying what I'm doing exactly. This is all stuff that you'll get more familiar with sort of just as you draw more. So good job with the body. It's a difficult sort of series of shapes you've got there, and you've done it pretty well. Yeah. So with the ear, doing a drawing, a picture. So with the ear, I tend to do a thing where it's like boom, where it's like straight on one side and then boom on the other, just as like a sort of a base, and then I'll modify it from there. I'll add like little tip of it that's like a bit like more like a bat pony thing, or like that sort of stuff. I'll modify it from there. And the muzzle, because they are slightly looking to the side. You can see Ali drawing it there as well. But it's good to sort of approach a muzzle shape like this, like from this kind of like an angle. You'll see one nostril fairly prominently, and then the other one will just be like that. So.
What are you doing over the pose, Ali?
So, what I just kind of wanted to do while drawing, while everyone was talking, was show, that I feel like if this is your sketch, I feel like you could loosen up on your sketch a bit. It feels like you're trying to have super clean lines on the get-go when you can try to help yourself out by figuring out the anatomy of something loose that overlaps a bunch, or taking shapes and having these spots that look dirty, but like the little balls can help you figure out where the joints go. Just something to try out. I know there's many different types of styles of sketching. I just always worry people try to be too clean when they sketch at first. You lose that flow and that loveliness from just getting those swooshy lines across the screen. Maybe you'll get like a real nice action pose from the swoosh, from the mess. You never know what can be born from the trash. We got to respect our trash loving mammals out there. But yeah, just an exercise in trying to loosen up, be messy. Don't feel like your sketches have to be pristine and clean. Some sort of sketching craziness. I don't know. Well, I don't know what crazy nonsense I'm doing, but you know, poem.
You're doing a drawing. You're doing an art, and
I do art.
Yeah.
It become a poem.
Heck yeah.
This output. The canvas is constantly changing.
Yeah, Ali, how could you do this? Jeez.
I'm sorry. I can't. Usually, I keep my eye on the stream to know where we are, where I can draw on the canvas, but that's just not the case today.
Well, if that's everything.
Yeah, I think so. We can move. Should we just go straight down?
Sure.
Or do you want to keep?
Let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna stop making our characters dance up and down to our voices now, because it was fun, but it was getting very distracting.
Oh no.
That's what I was doing the whole time. And yes, I was making your character swoosh around the drawing that you were doing.
Brilliant. I love it.
Anyway, here we are at some adorable little some boopage. Boops.
Some boobs, some cutes. All right, so this absolutely cutie patootie is from Gwenda Selvina. It says, boop, a little drawing I made for a roleplay group. The Pegasus is an NPC I designed myself. She's a friendly barmaid named Strawberry Sunrise. Yeah, she shares a name with the rude mayor Applejack once met. Kind of forgot she exists. The unicorn Stardust is a player character. No questions.
I mean, I have a pony named like Sea Breeze, which is a breezy, and I also have a pony named Berry Twist, which then much later on became the apparent true name of Tempest. You know the feeling.
So the first thing I'll say is, I just want to throw this out there because I'm not sure. I see this as a cross post from the lounge. Just so you know, we're not really an art sharing subreddit. If you go into our sidebar, we have links to like MLP art, and there's of course the main My Little Pony subreddit and all that. Just so you don't know, I'm not sure, you could also be posting for help, but I'm just letting you know. This place is more for if you have questions or you want critique, or any kind of art-related discussion. So just to let you know for the future. But for now, we'll critique your picture. If this is not what you wanted, just let us know, and now you know for next time.
Yeah. I'm not doing much. I'm just mostly just sort of moving the wings up here to be near the
Yeah, they've fallen down
shoulder.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I need to move my canvas. The cape is a bit sort of like crumply. It looks like it needs some ironing, whereas if this is like fabric, especially like soft fabric, it's going to be very like flowy, and it's going to sort of like fall on itself and have lots of sort of like weight, and then it's going to sort of have this part here where it's fallen and will sort of be resting and then lifting over the tail. You're gonna have more smoothness to it than all this sort of like jaggediness. If you wanted to, you could focus a bit more on the sort of bending of the fabric. So if I were to look at this, the pony's body is like roughly. Looking at what you've drawn, actually more like this. So the fabric is sort of like hanging loose here, because gravity is pulling it down, and then it's going to hit here, like here, a little bit. So it'll be tapering off, and coming into contact with the body, and then holding on here. Now we want it to be some like layers and poofiness, so we're actually going to like pull it out from the body a little bit. But then it's going to be like trailing behind, so there's going to be this pull in this direction. Also, gravity is pulling the sides of the cape down this way, and as we mentioned, this here is where the sort of contact point is. So the fabric's being pulled this way, and being pulled tight from this sort of contact point. And it's being pulled this way as well. So you can sort of use that to figure out roughly where the creases should be. And there's no science to drawing creases. It's I mean, other than like physics, no. But how to actually physically place them on, there's no routine to, you've got to draw it this way. It's just a case of looking up like fabric physics and how the cloth falls and how it sits and rests and how it's pulled, and how the creases sort of help to show that tension and relaxation of the material. It sounds very complex, but once you sort of get a handle on it, it will become easier and easier, and it could be a very, very useful tool to have in your shed. The art shed.
Heck yeah, art shed. So whenever like the hoof kind of like the front hoof sort of meets the body, I like bulging it out a little bit, just because there's like a bit of a sort of a muscle here, which I don't know the actual shape of it, but it's like it connects the all this to the body and all that kind of thing. So just bulging it out like a tiny little bit can help with that. And you can see, I think it's Ali has done the glasses in a little bit more of a 3D thing, just because we're sort of viewing it from this kind of an angle. And I've done like a similar thing for the eye. So let me grab this. Do that. It's just sort of, because this eye, we're viewing it from sort of the side. We're viewing the side of the head from here. There's going to be like an area on the side of the head that is like the side of the head and isn't going to have, the eye and all that sort of stuff on it, because, ponies in general have fairly front-facing eyes, mostly kind of sort of stuff.
Yeah. In the show, they typically draw them like, when we see them from front view, we see the eye shape, it's like, okay, and then we see them from the side view, and they have literally the exact same eye shape, because it's, animated on Flash, and it's like, oh, well, we just need to like have this model, and it's, lazy, so to speak, because it needs to be animated. And yeah, so we're literally seeing the front view eye on the side of the face, which is like off-putting if you know anything about art before watching MLP. But you sort of get used to it. But if you're drawing, it's always good to try and think about the direction of the eye in the skull, because it helps it feel a bit more realistic and well placed.
Yeah. Just 3D things. Don't stress. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Also, other ear. We'd see it over here. Don't forget it.
You can do it.
You can
You
do
got
it.
the other wing in. That was awesome. Just don't forget it. Otherwise, I think this is super cute, and we could move on. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Good drawing.
Good job.
Feel free to submit more stuff to us and ask questions. It like that. They don't even need to be like big questions. It can just be like, "Hey, the eye looks weird," or "Hey, I wanted this to blah, 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 blah." And then we have something to go off in terms of like how we like critique it and the sort of stuff you're after and all that kind of thing.
So, what is this one, Ellie?
All right. So we on the little twiggles?
Yes.
All right. So this is by Hollow Boy. Little Wink Twilight. I kind of like the style, and I'll try doing so. I'll try working on it in the future.
Wink.
Wink.
Disney.
They said also, I still can't get to make proper shading, but I'll work on it, and sooner or later it'll work. So shading, I guess, is the question here. Shading help, or yeah.
Heck yeah, doing shading. I love it.
I've been trying to do it more. I usually ignore C parentheses, too afraid to do it. But it's always good to see people trying.
Yeah, it's too much work. I don't bother.
Shading's so fun. You can just be messy with shading. It's the cell shading where you have to be super precise that I don't like as much, because like I can do it. It just takes time. I'd rather get like a nice big brush and smudge in the shadows and get the shapes building up, and like that.
See,
That's more
sounds
fun.
easier to me. Like I did try it. I did do soft shading when I first tried doing shading, which is what I first used a tablet for, really, when I was sketching on paper and drawing with a path tool. But I don't know, it seems difficult for me now, because then like everything just goes everywhere, and at least with cell shading I can just draw out this line and then paint bucket it in, and it's good. What is this appearing in the top here?
The brightest, sunniest twilight.
Yep.
There to light the way.
Exactly.
Very nice.
Ignore the hooves. I'm bad at hooves.
I'm
bad at drawing.
I'm good at hooves and bad at legs. Can we swap?
You guys collaborate. That's what you have to do now.
Teamwork.
Oh no.
Wingy.
Yeah.
The expression's really fun. I like how the eyes are. I like this very simplistic style. Something I would say is just next time when you want to do expression, gather a few references of that expression, even of humans doing that expression or other cartoons doing that expression. It might help you push it so it's more readable. Like right now, it's all very neutral with the eyebrows in the same spot and the eyelid as the same area as where the eye's winking. Something you could do is really push that expression and like get the eyebrow pushing down, because in a wink, an eyebrow. Let me grab a different brush that's a little thinner. Give me my buttons back. Thank you.
Okay. I smush. Eyebrow big.
Get it all flowing together. Get that wink. Like happy.
Mush.
You can even get the Pixar lift going on.
Yep.
But yeah, just you can ultimately push that expression just a little harder to get the fuller effect.
If you go onto our subreddit, which is a thing you should know, you should be able to access. On the side, of the subreddit on the sidebar, there's a thing that says bi-weekly challenges, which
Oh, I wonder
don't
who does
happen
those.
bi-weekly. Yeah, I wonder who. But there is, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's one that's called expression practice, and it basically just goes through and has a link to an expression sheet and some tips and tricks and advice and all that sort of stuff. And it's pretty good for, like, if you want to practice some like expressions and all that kind of stuff.
I love expressions. It's seriously like my favorite part of drawing. I've had some people be like, "Oh, I hate expressions. They're so difficult. It's so scary. I like don't want to know how to do them." I'm just like, "Why? It's the best. It's the best part. You could do
It's
so
how you
much."
chuck emotion in. Yeah, exactly.
Like, there's no such thing really as just like happy or sad or angry or whatever. It's all just like a mix of like a million different like colors. Really, there's just like a bajillion million tones and tiny differences. It's just like a mixture of other colors all mixing together to form your mood. It's a little bit like in Sims 4, all the different like moodlets of like, oh, I'm happy about this, but I'm like feeling uh, I'm feeling tense about this, but I'm feeling like inspired by this thing, and it all combines together into your general mood, and that's your expression. Expression is a window to like all of the crazy amount of like data that's like shooting through your brain, all the stuff you're thinking about at that moment, all the stuff you're feeling, and you get to show it off with the expression. And I love trying to find that minute, perfect little piece of the ponies or any character's mind, and like what they're just make them exist in the picture by making them express.
Heck yeah.
Anyway, you have a cute turtle.
Yeah, exactly. So, basically just pull the butt that way. This torso, I should get another color. This torso, it can just be pretty short. Let me trace. Let me get a color that's actually gonna sort of show it. Yeah, stealing Ali's color. So yeah, so you've got, here's like the front of the thing. Here's the back of the neck. Goes into the back, and you can do it something like that. To be honest, it doesn't need to be very long. The actual like torso sort of thing. And that's kind of what I've done. What I've done here in the yellow. I made this hoof sort of come up here a bit. Extended this one forwards a little. Brought the tummy. So when it comes to the this whole section, I tend to go like tummy, and then have the thigh kind of like come out from there, and then the butt kind of goes like that. That-ish kind of a thing. And then I can just erase that in, and then chuck the cutie mark there.
Yeah.
It's very badly drawn, but it goes through the steps.
The MLPDS exclaimer is warning. Most things will probably be badly drawn due to limited tools.
Yeah, but yeah, that's kind of how I approach things. And I also like drawing like the back of the hair, so making it look like they have mullets.
Some like volume and dynamics to it.
Yep, add some mullet energy, which as an Australian I love. But yeah, no, good picture. You can see Ali doing some amazing expression-y stuff over here. It's good.
It just depends on how much you want to push it. I know, like adding little head tilts to really lean into that wink, or just goes back to what I was saying earlier about really looking at those cartoon expressions, because we can push that, we can sell that expression more than we could in real life ever.
Yeah, that's true. That's one of the other beauty things about cartoon, especially with ponies. There's so much expressiveness there. got these big, round, squishy eyes and squishy marshmallow faces, and the ears are like a huge thing about their body language as well.
Good art, cute pony.
can-
Hope to see more. Oh, sorry.
You can no. I was muted. I was like, why is okay?
Stop doing that.
You can see, yeah, pretty much. You can see how, like in Ali's picture, the eye that's winking is the eye that's closest to us.
Yeah,
because that's the eye that,
easiest to
like,
do.
yeah, it's the easiest to do, and it also it this eye, the wink, is kind of like pushing the most expressiveness out. So it's good to like make that really obvious. You can see I've done the same thing down here.
Also, I was just doing this, right? When you wink naturally at somebody, what do? You lean into the eye that's winking, right? So that's usually the part of the face that probably will be showing more.
Yeah.
You don't hide the wink from somebody. You bring it towards them.
I think also the like open eye like shifts slightly as well.
Yeah. Good drawing.
Questions. Woo.
Let's move
Draw
on.
more in future and send us things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god. We have another professional artist.
A very cool pizza
sending stuff
lord.
to us.
I'm assuming they're pizza lord, but on Reddit they're known as Yehudis Urbosos. I'm probably saying that wrong, so I'm gonna say pizza lord. It's much more easier. Just is called Bubblegum Bitch. Art by me, no questions. First critique, ask us questions. If you want to post in our subreddit and you're posting here because you want help and you want critique, so help us by asking questions. They don't have to be big questions. It can be like, hey, I'm posting this art because I had trouble with the arm. Or I'm posting this because I'm having trouble with color. Or just any kind of direction, any kind of question would be absolutely fantastic.
Hey, I want to explore new stuff in my art. What do you think that I could enhance? Or what do you think that I could explore or look at in future? You know, it can be open-ended. Definitely. It can be whatever. Because otherwise, we're going to nitpick.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when your art's this good.
Yeah. 100%. This is like great. I love it.
I'll leave you guys to nitpick for a second. I need to be able to eat.
Oh, good. I love that. And I love how this like visor. You can see the eye outlines just a little bit through it. That's it's an effect that like not a lot of people like do, or like you know, it just looks great. I love it.
I also love these little hooves. I don't know what it is. Like they're little tippy tap hooves with nice fluffy puff fetlocks. I enjoy that greatly.
Good hue shifting in the shadows. It's sick. That's great. I love it.
It's super fun. I'm trying to see. Let me quick look at your profile
like
here. Yeah, you do a lot of really awesome stuff.
I love it in terms of just being like a good little character piece. Looks great.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Welcome.
Sure, so what did I miss?
Not much.
Just us saying everything looks great. I love it.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what to critique of this either. It's stylistic, it's fun, it's cute, interesting.
You've definitely like got you've imparted character into it. All that sort of stuff.
I really want to just like see a pony just like, oh, I'm gonna pop this bubble. I use Pixie's art for that because you're the one with the outstretched.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant. I love it.
I guess if I had to be super nitpicky, I'd say beware your shading. On some parts, it kind of fights each other. I'm getting a vibe that the light's coming from directly above, but there's certain areas that get lighting that maybe shouldn't, or you could define the shading in areas a little more, just like if you look at the hooves down here, since they're long cylinders, you could probably pull the shadow out to be
Oh.
you already got the color.
we both saw that at the same time, and I was like, okay.
Uh-huh. just little stuff like that to define the shapes. And in the hair as well, and the ears.
Mm.
But that's, again, super nitpicky. I'm just looking for stuff since there's no questions here. Please leave us questions. I think
we're looking for stuff to complain about because your picture is too good. All right.
Yeah.
I can't work under these conditions. I need stuff to complain about. What was I going to mention? Something that might be interesting, if you want to like look into it, is I don't know, making the face like a little more angular or that sort of stuff, like making this eye noticeably like bigger than this one when you're looking at it from this sort of side. That's something that I like doing and I like messing with. I like having, the eye that's closest to us being like big and then the other one being like really distorted, and like having that sort of like really interesting like angular sort of face shape kind of stuff. That's something I like. You might not. It's all good. But looks great. Just chuck us more stuff and chuck us little questions or little things to go off.
Yeah.
Mention what you want to do with your art or where you want to take your art, and we can suggest directions or any of that sort of stuff.
And if you're just looking to share your art, hop in our Discord. We have an art channel. Share your art there.
Heck yeah!
It's all good. Yeah.
You can come talk to us and share art and be like, yeah.
Woo.
Woo. Good stuff.
What do we have next? 2 more
Next
pictures.
row. 3 more pictures.
Oh, I love... Oh, is there a third one? Oh, I didn't see that down there. I love this one. It looks so cute.
Oh, goodbye. All that. There we go.
Oh, did I do something? No, I didn't. Okay. Whew.
Oh, is that me?
It's
Apparently, Aggie decided that all the layers except for 4 would be deleted.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
And I came back.
So this one is by Jackie Oat. They were on here before. I believe they submitted a bunch of really awesome sketches. So they're like, their comment or the title is a fully rendered ? This is Rain Breeze, and they said a C comment. Okay. So this is a follow-up to those doodles that I was talking about. They said, I thought I should show the stream some of my more polished work. In this, I really struggled with that front viewer facing leg, as well as the blend of show style with my style. I think it ended up closest to the G4 movie, mixed with the G5 detail, ? I'd appreciate red lines and tips on blending the style. And they also posted a time-lapse.
Yeah, I have a thing. I think the first thing, like, I love, like, the building up of, like, the body, especially, like, the face shape and the muzzle and the neck and, like, all of that is, like, super great. I think what is throwing me off at first is the, like, lack of any space in the eyes. It's pretty much entirely taken up by the iris. You can't see the sclera at all, except for in the off eye. You can sort of see, I'm squint a bit, but I'll go into the eyes a sec, hold on. I just got to get OBS out of the way. It's in the way of my drawing. Moving down here. Okay, so if I'm just going to zoom in the face. You guys can work on the legs in a second. So there's another thing with the face. Actually, darker colors now. Where so you've got the bridge of the nose, the eyes. If we look at the size of them, this here is one eye. And then, like, this here is another one. So I'm wondering if you can see, like, what's wrong with that. If we, like, blur everything out and just have this. The problem is with them is that this one here is way too small. So if we were to move up the eyebrow firstly a little bit to match, and then we have the eye sort of going more this direction. Like it has to meet the eye that we're seeing. When you have like a face, so we've got like, face front on. The eyes are going to be like equal in all dimensions, really. We're seeing like the cross and the vertical. When we're having the character like sort of side on, I'm just going to do like sort of chibi eyes. We're going to see the one on the offside be shorter than the one, but they're going to have the same height. So you can, as long as you keep the same height, everything will be fine. Just decrease the horizontal width, But secondly, so you want to like build up the. Oops, did I make this line? I didn't mean to make that line. So you have like the corner of the eye here. It's great. The shape of the eye is absolutely fine. It's fantastic. We can see that there is a bit of the sclera here, but it's very drowned out, especially because there's shading on it. The pony has a very, very light coat, so the difference between this shaded colour here and this shaded colour here is so minimal that the eyes can barely like make it out. So when we look at it from a distance, it's really hard to see that there's any kind of defining point here, especially because this shading here like matches up. We're just seeing this happen. Meanwhile, the eye sort of comes out a little bit, very, very slightly, but we can't really see that because it's white on almost white. So what I would do is move this. Like that shouldn't really need to be there, or if it is, it should be like quite different. But I would just like change how you've got the eye itself. Maybe even get rid of the shading, or just like drastically minimize it, and make sure you just pump out a bit of distance there. I would even like go so far as reducing the iris a little bit, just to get that like. Just so that we can see that there is a space in the eye, and I think even like going so far as to put a little bit of the eye shape there would help a lot to define where, because like I said, if that's not part of your style, that's fine, but having a character that's like a very close to white body, you need to be able to separate the areas that actually are white, if that makes sense.
Heck yeah, eyes.
Now I can zoom back out and we can look at this body that has been drawn.
You can see the 100 billion trillion different lines. Let me go through it one by one, bit by bit. So here, just flare out the shoulder kind of thing, because there's like a some muscle and all that sort of stuff there that the shoulder connects to. So flaring that out will make that look a little bit more. With the bottom of your hooves, in general, I'd say just like don't be too scared to sort of make them a little bit bigger. You can make them a little bit bigger and have more difference between like the top of the hooves and the middle of them and the base of them and all that sort of stuff. The front one that's sort of away from us is a little bit difficult. So let me go through it. It's good to add some not rounded shapes, because almost all of the shapes in here are like really round. There's not much in terms of like
in like the classic MLP style. There are almost no straight lines anywhere to be seen in the show, and that's like a deliberate thing. Like one of the first things I learned in A-level graphic design is like use of line work, and how like sort of organized lines versus chaotic lines, and then like curved lines versus straight lines, and there's like sort of like a chart, like an alignment chart of like the different effects it has on the brain. And MLP is very deliberately like soft and round to make everything feel squishable.
Yeah, it just looks weird here. So this area in particular, I think what you need to do, because of the shape of this hoof, we're not going to see quite that much of like the bottom of it. If anything, it would probably just be like just a little bit, or even it might not be like any at all.
I'm thinking not any at all, because we're already facing like that direction where it's like a
Yeah.
3/4 ish. So that would require the horse to like completely twist their leg around unless you're like purposely doing it. It's not really a comfortable position.
Yeah, like you can see I've just like drawn over that a little bit there, and that looks a little bit more like comfortable and all that kind of stuff. Most of the other stuff is, not too much to mention. I've sort of changed the shape of this area in particular, just to match like what I tend to draw. So feel free to mess about with it a little bit more. I like these. I like the idea of these like little lines in here, but it's difficult to kind of get that with a cartoony style hoof like this, with that like the dug in sort of thing. So if you're gonna add those, it's probably good to do some like life drawing with like actual horses and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the good thing is,
it brings me back to my days of first learning to draw centaurs.
Yeah. The good thing is, if you go into the sidebar on our subreddit and down to the bi-weekly challenges, right near the end, there's one called Life Drawing. I forgot what it's called exactly, but it's life drawing, and it's there's an attached YouTube video of me going through a life drawing session with like actual horses and stuff like that. So if you want to, if you want to have like little details like that, you're probably going to need to change the hooves to be like a little bit more like normal horses, just so it doesn't like look weird or look out of place or that sort of stuff. Because it's a very like realistic detail to include on the cartoon horses.
So Ali, what are you sketching up there?
And just a couple more things. No, all good. This hock, this back thing, just make sure that it kind of lines up decently with the one on the other hoof, just because this one up here is fairly high, this one's fairly low, and it looks a little bit strange. And this tail, it's usually good to sort of follow, for a tail that looks kind of like this, it's usually good to sort of follow fairly straight on from like the back, because this helps everything flow a little bit better. But
it's not a criticism, but since it's so thick, it kind of, if you ignore the tuft of fur at the end, it kind of makes me think of like a dinosaur tail a little bit.
I like it.
I think
it reminds me of like a shark thing.
So the thing with the tail for me is, because the hair is how it is, it feels like a side view of the tail. We're losing all kind of direction of it coming out this way, so there'd be a little more overlap going on. And I think if that was in there, I think it'd feel just a little bit like, I'm fine with the thickness. It's just that direction in, because we can't lose. That's something that like the MLP show they do, because they have constraints and they can't do fancy things each time. They'll sometimes just whack the tail out to the side no matter which way they're standing. So any kind of reference from the show directly will have just like, oh, pony, I don't know, like the one I have drawn up here, and suddenly the tail will just be like, oh, here's Pinkie Pie's tail, just cardboard to the side, or here's Twilight's, or just like rainbow directly sideways. Just something to be careful of. If the body's going one way, have the tail follow along with that direction. No, the only thing I was sketching up here was I was trying to figure out the hoof you had here, if it was possible to have it facing the audience, the inside of the hoof, and like I said, it was kind of feeling really uncomfortable. But the main thing I'll touch on, because everyone else has been wonderful with what they touched on, is you were talking about wanting to combine styles and merge styles into your work. Now, honestly, there's no right way to do it, but if you really do want to merge styles or bring someone else's style, or just a study style in general, get references of that style. Really break down that style and ask yourself, what do you want from that style? What are you trying to merge? Because it won't just like, oh, I'm looking at the movie and then I drew something. Sure, sometimes some stuff will rub off, but if you're trying to deliberately add something, what are you trying to add? And usually that helps it cement in a bit more. So if style change up is what you want, get those screenshots. If you really enjoy G5, get the little renders they have out now, and study them, break them down, figure out what about that style you want in your art. And then you can experiment. You can do like a bunch of doodles where you try like ears 7 different ways from the show, or you figure out how to, add the fetlocks all nice and soft from G5, or, different tests like that. If yeah. That's style
Heck yeah.
combination.
Yeah,
It's all
I agree.
experiment. Yeah.
I did a touch of like little lines on the ground just to like
Lines.
have a rough sort of 3D-ish kind of like idea of where things are. That's it. I always find it useful when I'm like positioning hooves and positioning things like the tail to like be able to compare where everything is in like on the floor, because that's going to give you like a
Feels
good.
like it's been a while since we talked much about like the 3D plane the pony standing on. It used to be like on every picture, I think.
Yep. Next week I'll just be assigned to drawing 3D planes.
Bring it back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good art.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Are we moving on?
I guess we'll head over, yeah. Let me grab the thing. All right.
Oh, it's Fear.
It is MLP Hero is the poster. Fear of the Dark. I
It's
see
better
no
that's Fear at the Dork.
Fear of the Dark. Yeah, no questions. So first critique as always is ask questions. Why are you posting here? What kind of did you have struggles? Is there something you want to improve on? Any kind of leeway to help us get in the direction you want to go.
This is cute. You did a thing. Hooray.
Hooray, drawing. You did a drawing. And because you did a drawing, you've succeeded.
Hell yeah.
I'm just adding scary stuff.
Like the dark.
Spooky,
This like light here really directs things, and these like little, I imagine like little tree things or little whatevers just help push that push the focus here a little bit more.
Spooky, scary, changing. It doesn't fit.
Alright, close enough. So, with your picture, you can see here that you've got a lot of stuff, a lot of lines that are like just pure 100% black. Usually, it's a good idea to sort of avoid 100% black. Even just pushing it like a little bit towards grey, or like a little bit, towards a color or something like that can be useful. Or what you can do is you've got this like light here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a big brush, turn the opacity pretty low, make the brush even bigger, and then I'm just going to scribble a little bit of stuff on top where I think light would hit, sort of thing. Just to make it look a little bit more interesting. So you can do stuff like that or whatever.
I'm wondering what program you use and to what degree your like process of making art is. Might be a bit early in your sort of experimentation with art to look at, but it's always worth looking into how much you're undersketching. Because I'm looking at the design of the pony. You've got like very thick lines, very stiff posing. It's almost like there's sort of like a little like action figure of a pony that's just kind of been placed on the scene. And that's fine. It's just like, posing in detail and anatomy is something to learn. I think that's a good direction for you to focus on as well. If you don't want to go too much into the side of like digital coloring, I'm a huge proponent of people learning to draw with paper and pencil first, and even continuing to draw with paper and pencil as they're learning to color digitally. Like, draw with paper and pencil, scan or photo, then color it in your program of choice. So like that, because to me I feel like sketching just has so much more like control, and it just feels natural, and you get to focus more on the shapes you're doing as opposed to figuring out how to make a drawing appear with your tablet, or maybe you drew this with a mouse. I'm not sure. It's definitely good to have that physical hand drawing feel in, And if you did do that, then I would just focus on, like, drawing bigger. Give yourself the room to work. Focus on this pony. Zoom right in. You want them to be filling up your entire canvas. You don't need to be looking at the entire picture all the time. Definitely zoom out and look at that big picture sometimes. That can lead to some mistakes not doing that, but you want to, like, zoom in on the character and see what you're doing, and then you want to be drawing them. So before you've done any of these lines or colors, you want to be just, like, messily sketching stuff out. So what that looks like is, well, kind of what is happening over here at the left. No, that's not the thing I dragged. This is the thing I dragged. We see some... Ooh, can I put that back? There we go. There we go. We see some lovely stuff here appearing over here, which shows some more dynamic posing. And what's happening here is not clean lines. We're seeing some lovely, like, messy looking sketches appearing, which is showing the body in a pose with all the hooves on the ground, and showing how can we define a changeling looking scared and spooked, looking around, because they're feeling emotions, they're thinking about stuff, they're looking at stuff, they're worried, and so they're going to be looking around the scene. They're spooked. So it's this is what sketching looks like. If this is not something that you're used to doing, if it is, then great. Then this is just sort of what you should be aiming for in your sketches. If you haven't done it yet, then we all strongly recommend doing that, because it's really the best way to get the idea you have to start. You've got to explore the idea before you actually make the thing. You don't say, I'm going to build a science project, let me start screwing things together. You draft it out, you get your ideas onto paper, you brainstorm, and then you start, like, slowly putting pieces together in theory and then into practice. That's what sketching is, basically. Is this you doing a lovely drawing, Ali?
Well, this here, yeah, I did that. It's okay. It's messy. It's portraying what I need for the moment. This will not be my final thing, of course. I could easily slap the opacity down on my layer and then draw over top of it any kind of corrections. Like maybe, I want new layer. Okay. Oh, I want the muzzle, to not be as big, so I'll make it a little smaller. Maybe I want the expression to change, or I'll make it a little skinnier, like really, like, push it, like, oh no, really, really scared, like, woe is me, I'm scared and sad changeling. It's very scary. I'm constantly in fear, like, but I don't know the story enough to really guess what kind of expression you want here, because they look like they're sarcastically saying, I have a constant fear that something's always near. So I'm not sure if that's part of the character.
Eyebrow is saying to me, but it could be that it's meant to be sort of like a tilted down, sort of like you've drawn it, like maybe that was the intention. Yeah.
Maybe. But that's something we can work on with sketching and cleaning up the sketches. We can really, push that expression, like, if these are my eyes here, something like you have looks more like angry because there's
down
that
like simplistic
downward
forms can sometimes be
curve.
very helpful.
Yeah, something more sad would have more like back curves, like, oh no. Ah. And there's so many ways those little curves can affect the expression, especially when you have very, like, cartoony simple eyes. So it's just something to be aware of when you're drawing your expressions. Those little lines, they can make the biggest of differences sometimes.
Oh yeah, this is like one of the first things I learned about art, and then I used to talk about this all the time, and I haven't done lately, but one of the first lessons I learned was sometimes the smallest line can change, like, the entire picture, which is a very philosophical thing that gets to come out of art. Like, you can apply that to life, but it's true. Like, sometimes a tiny little dot can change the entire expression. It's happened to me. Like, that's one of the earliest things I discovered, and so I think that's a good thing for you to, like, play around with. You can experiment with that and see how things change when you just mess around with them. But in order to do that experimentation, you want to be loose and messy. We want to be sketching messy sketches, trying things out, rubbing it out, and then trying and then again with something else. If you're committing the idea down to shapes and lines and trying to finish every single thing that you're drawing, you're going to very much limit the speed at which you're learning, because everything you're doing is a project, and that's not true. It might be that you look at people's galleries and you see all this art and say, wow, I want to draw like that. Well, that's like maybe 10 to 20% of the pictures that they draw. Maybe higher depending on the artist, but for me, yeah, I only finish like 10% of my pictures. It's like there's a lot of stuff that just sketches that don't work out, or a sketch that's then redone later on. Yeah, it's not even to mention like the experimentation that's gone into all of those pieces that you see in the gallery. That's not probably not how they started. So it's when you get further into developing art, you start to learn faster, and that's because you learn better learning techniques. And part of that is just how to sketch and experiment and be messy and not be afraid to like erase things. Now, if you are drawing digitally, the one benefit of that over paper, which I do really like, is that, say I've drawn like a expression, just continue using that example, or it could be like a leg or anything really. I'm like, oh well, maybe I kind of want to try maybe pushing it this way, or maybe like changing the expression a bit. I can just select it, cut it out, paste it into a different layer, turn the layer off, and then draw and make a new layer and just draw to my heart's content, and then I can just flick them back and forth between the different expressions or hairstyles or whatever it might be, and end up experimenting without destroying what's already there. So if you've drawn something nice, you don't have to lose that. You can just preserve it and draw something else and bring it back later if you want to. So that's a really useful thing. But it's about using your tools. It's about trying things out, experimenting, finding what technique you want to use the most. But that kind of experimentation towards drawing and building up the drawing as a sketch before you line it will help everything feel so much nicer, I promise.
So, Ali's got a thing written here. Mess you understand is good. Now, look at this. Look at this pile of crap. It's a bad drawing. It's bad, it's messy, it's all that sort of stuff. But I can understand this. You know, this I drew this, I sketched it. When I look at it, you know, I can understand the sort of pose that's going for, the sort of expression.
I can vaguely see,
that I'm probably
maybe a pony. I can see like the cross for the face here.
But
that's about it.
The messy you understand is good. That's the important thing. Is yeah,
so
you can be messy. You can
sketch
do that.
to like a commissioner or something. I'm like, so like, how about this pose? And it looks completely clear to me. And it's not even this messy. It's just like the circles and lines making a pose, and they're like, yeah, what am I looking at here?
Yeah, exactly. So don't stress if your things look messy or they look sketchy, or if you send them to someone else and they're like, I don't know what this is. That's fine. It's for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
The sketches
should always be for you. Sketches are always. You can post sketches. People post sketches all the time, and sometimes people might post super clean sketches because everyone's definition of a sketch is different. But a sketch doesn't have to be pretty.
Everyone was saying like, "Wow, Zaya, sketches are so clean." I'm like, I don't know. I'm not trying to make them clean. It's just how I draw. Oh, look, a pony is appearing over here.
You can see a pony appearing from my
clear.
Exactly.
Pony. It's a cute pony. But yes, and just to end off here, sidebar of our subreddit, there's a bunch of great guides, a bunch of like for anatomy, for shading, for drawing. There's even ones for how to use references. Highly recommend you check out those. And if you have any questions, hop into our Discord. People will be happy to help when they can. And yeah, you can start a discussion and all that fun stuff.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Keep drawing. You're good at drawing.
Hell yeah.
Thanks for sharing also.
Now for the final.
What is this? This is too amazing.
It's the tofu.
Hello, tofu.
The most amazing.
Tofu?
This is tofu.
Tofu practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Tofu is crazy.
Tofu has like excelled so much.
They've been working. They've been putting in those studies.
I don't think I remember seeing this much like improvement since like Gallon, and like I mean M is also sort of in that like that league as well.
Yeah. So they had questions, and if they're here, they're free to talk. But their question was about rendering and how to start with rendering.
Yeah. How to start rendering is kind of like how can I put this? So I did a sketch layer before of the whole scenery, But it's a bit the question like, how do I start this rendering process? Do I first start coloring it in, or and after I colored it in, does the color have to be like super strict, or can it be like loose, like like traditional painting? Like if you look at oil painting and watercolor, from what I saw so far, the initial colors are very very, very broad and splatter, and then it gradually gets more and more restricted. Or you can you get the colors in, and you color mask it. So you get a color really clean and you mask it, and then you start shading from there. So I'm not too sure how this starts.
So
I've seen some progress for. Oh, sorry.
no, you continue.
I've seen some progress photo from like people who are really good at rendering, like Assassin Monkey and stuff. They they know what they're doing already. So you can see when they start, like their rendering is like already good. Even if they're only down like the head of Applejack, it's already really well rendered. So yeah, it's hard to get them. It's hard to get them just right exactly. Another thing is about the rendering here, like what is off and what is not working and what can I improve. So, yeah.
So how I tend to start is I tend to like do some stuff like this. I'm like very like very blocky, very sort of just trying to chuck shapes down. Usually not even this precise, just like usually something like this, and and then from here, what I'll do is I'll stare at it. I'll stare at it for a longer time. I'll stare at it for a longer time, and then I'll be like, okay, which part right now needs more definition, or which part is standing out to me as a thing that looks off or whatever, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe a little bit of like color under the eye, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe a little bit of shade here on the front of the neck, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe like a little bit of sort of extra shade up here near the nose, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe a little bit of this, and then I just keep doing that, and then keep getting like more and more specific with the changes I make until it's rendered. That's me.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
I was about to say, like,
interesting.
the question at hand here is hard to give like an exact answer to because there's no wrong way to do it. It's just however you're comfortable starting. There's people who block in silhouettes and then do it all in black and white, or they, a combination of 7 different techniques they've seen over time. It's hard to tell what is the best way to do it. You just need to figure that one out and get videos, watch speed paints of people going at it. I know you said you look at Assassin Monkey. Yeah, their style is very like they perfect the part they're working on and then move on to the next part. That is a way of doing it. There's so many ways of approaching this that none are wrong.
Go and look and see how like a bunch of different artists do it, and then try to make your own way from that, and then find or test out a bunch of different approaches, and then find which one works for you.
Yeah,
which one is the most productive one, or the quickest one, or the funnest one, or the one that gets the result you're looking for.
And you don't need to have it picked out the second you try it. Its odds are going to change over time. It's just kind of like what's working in the moment.
Okay, I see.
Yeah. The only
So
thing
giving
I
it
can
a
think
try,
of,
pretty much. Yeah, it's like everything. Giving it a try, see whatever works. If it doesn't work, maybe combine a method or something. Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever works. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Well, you're doing good.
Yeah, you're doing really great. The only thing I'd say is exactly what Pixie said is just kind of working more general to specific, so you don't get so you get more big definition rather than getting lost in the details. But that's something you're working on already, so it's hard to, yeah. This is good stuff.
The kind of the why isn't this not drawing? There we go. Good. The sort of hue shifting around the tones and all that sort of stuff. It dips way into blue there, which is interesting. It's an interesting choice. Like yesterday, we were chatting on stream, and you were doing some drawing stuff, and you were doing those like value studies where it was like focused on sort of how light or dark it was, rather than sort of how like rather than focusing on like a bunch of different colors, you just like stuck to like a monochrome sort of thing and just like shows values out of that to assign to things and all that kind of stuff. Those sort of value studies can be really good because they like, you know, they're just like the step before you go coloring things. So it might be good to focus on those a little bit if you sort of want to focus on the forms and making things pop in 3D and all that sort of stuff. But, you know, yeah, in general, you're going good. You're doing good stuff.
You're doing really great. Like, honestly.
Thanks. I think another thing is, other than shading, is also about the shape design. I heard that talked about a lot. To design those shapes and putting them down, even when doing landscape, finding those big shapes and just thinking about how you can show them, or generally it's a lot of stuff. Painting is very in depth, so you just needs more time with it. To be honest, I think just need more practice with it.
Yeah, like this shape of the head is definitely looking more interesting.
Yeah, I see it.
I like it.
Yeah, hard to draw though because their eyes are so tilted.
Yeah, animals have some weird eyes once you dig into them.
Especially when thinking about if they look at the front view, it must be so weird. It's like the eyes like all the way slanted backwards. Yeah.
I think when
the sort of shape of the eyes reminds me of Tempest.
I think when you start getting to this kind of point, a lot of the thing that'll probably help and all that sort of stuff is just thinking about the contours and how different like parts flow into other parts. So like, you know, you've got the top of the muzzle thing here, and then it like, you know, there you've got like a hard edge there and all that sort of stuff. Whereas sort of up here, it's all like a fairly smooth section and all that sort of stuff. Thinking about that and about, you know, imagining the form in terms of contours and that sort of stuff, that's probably that's probably going to be useful in terms of like painting and all that.
Yeah, definitely will.
Yeah, just as like the thing to focus on in general.
Okay, cool.
Look at this. This is like too good.
Yeah, it is very nice. I'm looking at that right now. Also, I like the color band. So I try to have something like that as well, like the environmental light. I kind of try to do that, but it doesn't show as much. But yeah, see.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like, right now I'm just color picking. This is like in a very extreme situation, but the one magical thing about digital art is we can futz with the layers and change things up and mess with them a bit. So I would probably dull down the yellow, but sometimes I like to work too far because I can always dial it back and I have that control.
I see.
Oh, good work as usual.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thank you.
super good.
Yeah. Still need more practice with it, to be honest. Like painting style is different, very different.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting.
Coming along really well there.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, if I may, another thing, since I'm the last one, right? So I can ask some questions. I can get more
life hacks.
Yes, life hacks. Eyes. Does the eyes work in that point? Because in this picture, I kind of used the old method I do eyes. The old method I render eyes when I have lines. Does the eye work in this context, or how can I make the eyes pop a bit more? That's the thing.
I think the eye, the iris, this like section around the eye, isn't as distinct from the whites of the eye as it maybe could be. So just something to like, you know.
I also feel like maybe
even
like looking at it, the eye, like the whole like iris and people of the eye that's further away from us feels maybe a little bit like in a different position than the one that's closest to us. Like it's pointing differently.
Right.
Oh yeah, the pupils pointed like slightly differently.
Sometimes it's hard to notice, and you spot it and say, "Oh, I can't unsee it."
I think
you could.
go for it if you have a solution to this. I have a different point after, so.
I was just gonna say, given like how angular this sort of face is, you could just like cut off a lot of that. Like you don't need to show the far eye, like any more than like a little tiny snippet or something like that.
That's why I saw it as well, but I was like, I want to show the other eye. I'm just like, tough thing to make because this face shape is super weird. It's goddamn sea ponies. Why can't I just have a normal face? I always have that tilted face, like the hippogriff as well. So annoying.
It's
But
super
it's good
dragony
practice, I guess.
vibes. Like...
Yeah, it is. It looks very dragony. I was thinking this looks like Pokemon. Like that, whatever the Charizard, whatever that's I think it's called. It's like that. It's very the color. I'm just like whatever. And the eyes, I get that as well, but it's hardly even looking right. I think if you want to get them to look the same angle, the eyes would be like barely showing a little bit of the iris, and I don't know. I think in the end, just like more practice and get some better reference. Because I didn't got much reference with this one. I got some from the show. I don't like some. Maybe I just need to get some good reference. Like maybe even from Pokemon, if the face shape is close to each other. I mean, yeah.
So the one thing I kind of wanted to point out was I was actually watching a streamer talk about this the other day. Is be careful when you're shading things, because different textures shade differently. Right now you have the same texture going on in every part of your picture here, and while it's not bad, there still needs to be some differentiating when it comes to like the eyeball is very shiny, it's very wet. It's not going to have the same rough texture because eyeballs with its wetness and its whiteness absorbs light differently. It pulls in and it shines and it reflects, and it doesn't have that same like dusty feeling to its shadows. They're a little bit more precise, a little bit cleaner, and there may be reflections in areas. Well, you can get the generic, like if I were to pull out let me get a shadow of some kind. If I were to pull out, give me a better size, thank you. Like this eyeball here, I could put like a shade on it. Really simple like that. But I still need it to be differentiating from maybe the shadow here, the super rough shadow you have going on in the eyeball. Because if that just bleeds into the eye itself, I'm just going to read that as all one and the same object. Like if it was a toy or a plushie all made from the same fabric or material.
I see, yeah.
Having that difference, getting the colors out. I don't know if I could do it all right now.
You can do it, Ali. I believe in you.
I'll scream.
I believe in you.
Like this is. I don't know if you've all seen the artist paint the canvas with yellow paint, and all they do is just scream into the canvas. That's the technique. Just scream.
I'm always screaming.
But that's what the old master's doing as well. They just like scream to the cat.
Is it working?
I'll have to get it. I'll have to get it later now.
So I get your points. There have to be like different kind of shading methods for the eye because it's just like more watery, right? It's more reflective. It's not like the general face, which is like more greedy and stuff. Yeah, eyes are shinier. That's correct.
They got the shines. They take shadow different. There may be like little bits of shadow. Like you'll have a more smooth, because it is also a circle. It's like a cylinder, so you have a different type of shadow going on. But I don't know.
It's like a cylinder, and then the iris is like a bit popped out. I remember, or something like that. The center of the eye.
It's an oval. It's an egg in your head.
Yeah.
Egg and head.
Egghead.
Egg and head. Yep.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good like point to just like different parts of the picture should maybe have different like little bits of different rendering and stuff. Like I've gone over the hair just a little bit to like with a sort of a roundish brush just to like change it up a little bit from like the furish sort of or whatever texture there. And it definitely looks a little bit more different now, just a touch.
So just like I think you added some darker shades in them. Am I correct?
Let me just.
Yeah.
I don't know if
But
I
the
added
hair was
darker
something that I'm
shades
not
in
too sure
particular.
about as well.
I just
I see.
changed it a little bit to like be a little bit more flowy and a little bit.
Ah,
sort
yeah, a
of
bit
like
more vibrant. Okay, I see. That's cool.
just a little bit more different from the
Mm-hmm.
main body.
Okay, I see.
Oh, and another thing, when doing lineless work, don't be afraid to use lines. Just because you're doing lineless doesn't mean you can't have, like, if I drew this line here around the eyeball, it's because
Ooh.
there's a very definitive line when you look at a human's eyeball. When you see the eyelid and the eyeball, you see that line. So
Mm.
don't feel like you have to have everything super blended. You can, like, just like you have the mouth here, you have a nice little line in the nostril. Different parts with extreme disconnect, like the eyeball's a flat or the eyelid is a flap over the eyeball. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
see that distinctive line cut through it, and that'll also help differentiate.
I see. Yeah. I actually tried something like that, but I tried to add something more colorish, but it didn't work out. And then I just kind of gave it up. But I get your point. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the lines here is like show the darkest part, right? Like there's some distance between the eyelid and the eyeball itself. It's like that tiny distance, like always very shaded. And the
yeah,
underpart is supposed to have a bit more reflective. I think,
It's
more
pretty much
realistic eyes like
just
that.
here's the darkest sort of shadows.
Yeah,
mhm.
exactly. Yeah.
That line that defines things.
I see. I
And
see.
the same can be done with the hair, just like kind
Mhm.
of coming through and maybe taking a darker color than you have on the hair, and you can have it blend in. This is too dark in the wrong pen. Um,
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just something to have it, pop out. You can even have it drawing into the hair, starting the strands.
That's true. Yeah, both are better that way.
And that way it's like, oh, it's connected to the scalp. It's not just like
Mhm.
coming from the scalp and
Yeah, you don't want it to look like
that
a
way.
sticker, like it's on top of the image. It's trying to make everything be more blended. There might
Mhm.
even be like a slight, a more sharp dip in tone, right where the main sort of connects. Like you have like a bit of a blend at the base, just to sort of, where light might be sort of like having a shadow cast right at the base of it. But
Mhm.
just anything to really
I
help
see. I
it
see.
feel like it's not shoved on top of the image. That's not what you want.
Mhm.
Also,
Yep. Okay,
the
I see.
part with where the back of the mane or fin, whatever, falls behind the neck.
Mhm.
Also, like blending that in, making it darker too. If I get like a multiply layer uh, somewhere over the canvas, um, and I just go down and I get like a blue-ish, okay, and I just sort of like fade, so it's like getting
Yeah,
darker.
definitely adds a lot more dynamic to the hair. Doesn't look as pasted on like before.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you want it to
definitely.
sort of have this like darkness of like really just sort of like where it sinks in, just to help. It helps draw
Mhm.
the body out and helps the mane feel more real. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Sorry.
It's
I
another
see.
one of those instances where this part is mostly touching that part, and
Mhm.
so similar kind of values a little bit, kind of, sort of, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I see.
We're just chucking all sorts of stuff at this.
Your stuff's so
Yeah.
good, we're just nitpicking. We've said this time and again.
Nitpick,
Uh-huh.
nitpick.
Nitpick.
Yeah, I was actually afraid of using layering mode because I was studying like painting style. They were saying like, oh, you're not supposed to use any layer mode. Just you should get the colors using your eyes or using color theory. I'm not too good
That's
with color
good
If
theory
if
yet.
if
practice.
if you were if you were studying like 50 years ago, yeah, sure, but you have computers. Why not use it? Screw
Hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to do like traditional watercolors or this or that sort of stuff, you can mess with it then. But for
Mm-hmm.
now, layer modes work. And
Yep, I
if you
see.
really do want to dig into uh getting the correct shades from the beginning and all that sort of stuff, it's going to help to know just how to make the correct shades anyway.
It's
Mm-hmm.
similar to the sort of idea of like being able to draw an image like from the get go without a sketch. Like it's possible. I've seen it. Like Ali and I were watching a scene with someone who was just like drawing amazing like furry art, like just boom boom, and ponies as well, just slamming them out without a sketch at all. just single
Mhm.
lines, like one shot with each line, and like if you draw the same thing a ridiculous amount of times, which comic artists have to do, sure, you might get to that point, but it's like an optional thing. You don't need to get to that
Mhm.
point. It's an unreasonable expectation. So why not use blending modes and tools and brushes and all that sort of stuff?
I see. I see. I see.
Art.
Yep. All right.
Alright.
Thanks for the feedback. Really helps.
Oh yeah.
Thanks for the cool art. We
Thank you.
love it.
Yeah. It's always cool to see what you got. It pushes us to try to figure out things to tell you. Brushes us. You guys brush up.
Nah, I think I still make some pretty basic mistakes here and there.
Don't we all?
That's
just how art is.
fine.
Yeah.
You've been drawing for like less than a year. You're fine, don't worry. When you get to like 30 years, then you can be like, oh, why am I making this mistake? You're fine for that. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, if there's nothing else, I think we're wrapped up. Is there anyone else in the chat who has anything they desperately need us to look at?
Not on Picardo.
In that case, I think we're gonna wrap up. Everyone say your goodbyes.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye everyone. Thanks for coming. Make sure to critique other people on the subreddit. It's very important.
And ask questions.
Yeah, questions and critique, please. It helps us. It helps
Yeah.
us. We need it.
Please.
Please.
Anyway, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye bye. See you
Bye.
next time.
Cheers.